guys, it's Linda. Welcome back to my channel. I'm not sure who I saw do this video first, but I thought it was such a good idea. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back over the last 4 years of my videos on YouTube and talk about products that I mentioned in other videos where I might have raved about them. Maybe they were first impressions, maybe they were in like my favorites of this category type video, and I'm gonna let you know if I'm still into them because, spoiler alert, some of those things I am so not into anymore. Before we get into this video, if you guys are excited to see the things that I'm still super into and also the things that I'm not super into, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already and go ahead and smash that notification bell so you can be notified every time I post a new video. This is not the video symbol. This is like not even picture taking anymore. It's this. Like what? I give up. The first thing I feel like I need to start with is what is currently my most watched video on YouTube, and that is about baby foot. I'm gonna link the video right up here so you guys can take a look at it if you want. Baby foot is this little booty filled with some goo that you put on your foot. You let it soak for a while and you rinse your feet off, whatever, and over the next 7 days, your foot will peel. Not like sunburn peel, but like a snake shedding its entire skin peel. It is disgusting, but in that video I talked about how it made my feet feel glorious and afterwards they had never been so smooth. What do I think of it now? I still love baby foot. I have only done it, I think, 3 times at this point, but every time I do it, it is such like a transformation, and as long as I take care of my feet afterwards and I soak them and I baby them, I baby my baby feet, the results last for a while. So it's not just like this one-time thing and then your feet go back to being nasty piles of skin on the bottom of your leg. It can make a huge difference. I fully recommend baby foot. The next thing is my very first Anastasia Beverly Hills palette that I ever had, and that is the Tamanna palette. I still use this palette so often. I talked about how into it I was, and the colors are just right up my alley. You've got these warm colors, you've got bronzes, and then you've got that bright pop of blue. I'm so bummed that people can't get this palette anymore because I want to use it all the time in videos, but like I don't want to be like, oh yeah, find it somewhere else, bitches. Sticking with palettes, I had made a couple of videos on the Juvia's Place Nubian palette. Again, I still love this palette. This, I mean, you guys know me. This warm stuff, it speaks to my innards, my gizzards, my whatever you want to call them. You have a good selection of mattes and shimmers, and also Juvia's Place is such a good brand and so inexpensive. I have no idea how they keep their price points so low. Such a good brand. I still recommend the Nubian palette and every other palette that they have to everyone. Let's do another palette, shall we? You guys might have seen my video on the Collab line. This is a line that you can get in Sally's Beauty. And there were some items that right off the bat, I was like, this is great. And items that right off the bat, I was like, wow, that sucks. I wound up actually returning about 3/4 of what I bought because I just wasn't into it, or it just wasn't wowing me enough to keep it in my collection. But one item I did keep in my collection was this palette, which is just the Palette Pro eyeshadow palette. I think it's called Get Ready With Me. So again, crap, do you guys understand how many warm toned eyeshadow palettes I have? Because it's a lot. This palette though is the one that I use on my days where I'm like, shit, I've got like 30 seconds to get ready, because I can make a whole look out of this. I can make it look glamorous for night. I can make it look good for like daytime work, office wear. This has been a go-to palette. This is a great travel palette. Even though there's only 8 colors in here, I can do a lot with this. And yes, I know they're all neutrals, but I feel like this is something that everyone could have in their collection and still get some use out of. As long as we're talking about palettes, let's talk about the Jeffree Star Beauty Killer palette. Now, when I bought that, I just did a first impressions video of it, and from what I remember, I said, you know, certain eyeshadows were really nice. There was, you know, one, I think it was called Courtney, that was really good, and a lot of the shadows I just had to work at, and I really had to work at them. But first impressions are just that, they're first impressions. So sometimes I may like hate something when I first use it, but I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try it a little bit more, and then I figure out my method with it and I wind up loving it. The Jeffree Star Beauty Killer palette was one of those that just never wound up doing it for me. I tried and tried and I just wound up not loving it. So I did sell it years ago. I have heard that the eyeshadow formula has improved since that first palette. I do not know if I will be buying any more of things from the Jeffree Star line, but let me know what you guys think. If you have purchased other items from the line, if you have purchased the highlighters that he has, the lipsticks, comment down below. I'm curious to know your thoughts. I also did a video showing off my favorite highlighters of all time, and one of the big ones was the Wet n Wild Precious Petals highlighter. This is still an absolute go-to for me. I just nicked it and it's all under my fingernail. No, look at that. It did look perfect before that huge dig in it. Anyway, this is the most gorgeous highlight, and it is so cheap. I really feel like this would be flattering on a variety of skin tones, but it is sort of a rose gold color. So if you don't typically like gold highlighters, you might not like this, but I feel like this is a good, cheaper alternative for Becca Champagne Pop, which I think you guys know is my all-time favorite highlighter. The highlighter I already had has died down a bit, so let's put some of this on and see. I mean, this is a $5 highlighter. Precious Petals is one that can still be found, unlike a lot of Wet n Wild highlighters, which seem to come in and go out with special releases, things like that. So really look into Precious Petals. One of my other big reviews that got a lot of views was for the ColourPop Luxe lipstick. The ColourPop Luxe lipsticks. Now, I bought 9 of these when they first came out, and honestly, every single color worked for me. I may not use them every single day, but they all worked. Now, do I still use these? Yes. Do I recommend these? Hell yes, because they are also cheap as hell, but I do have an issue. Uno Mas is one of my favorite colors from the whole line. It's this beautiful pinky nude, and it is gorgeous, except for the fact that it does that. Yes, I know I could just melt it back into place, but I kind of feel like with a lipstick, it shouldn't do that. And maybe this was a fluke, except for the fact that my On Repeat lipstick does the same thing. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if all of them wound up doing the same thing at some point. So this was their first run at like a true bullet lipstick, so maybe they just needed to iron some kinks out. That kind of pissed me off a little bit, but I can still use the lipsticks. I will still use the lipsticks. I do 100% still recommend them. My last one is, again, one of my most widely viewed videos, and this is not even on a makeup item, but this is on the Ringly Smart Ring. Now, I have 2 of these, one that I got as a gift, and then one that I was able to pick out myself, and it's, When I first got these, I wore them every single day, probably for a good year, maybe even a year and a half. These, I depended on them so much. So what they are is they are a smart ring that connects to your smartphone. And whenever I would get a notification, my ring would buzz and it would light up on the side with a color. You could say what color you wanted to match with which buzz. Like for example, if my ring buzzed and turned blue, that meant I had a Facebook notification. If it buzzed and turned green, that means somebody was calling me. So basically it let me prioritize stuff, and it let me be able to say, oh, okay, that's just a blue buzz. I don't need to pick up my phone right now because Facebook can wait. Whereas a green buzz, I'm like, somebody's calling me right now. I need to check who that is because that could be important. Here's the problem. These are the charger boxes, and they stopped working over and over again. The cords that came with them stopped working over and over again. And Ringly's customer service was the worst customer service I ever had to deal with. Each email, they would take at least 3 to 4 days to answer it, even if you put in one question. So for example, they would say, have you tried placing the ring in your charger box? And you'd write back, yes, I already told you I did that, so what is my next step? And then like 4 days later, you'd get a reply that would say like, have you tried putting your ringer in the charger box? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. This happened over and over and over again until both of my charger boxes stopped charging, and I bought new ones, and then those stopped charging, and they just stopped answering my emails. I was very polite, and also like I put out that video, which turned out to be one of the top Ringly videos on YouTube, praising them, and nothing from them. Just recently, I found out that in January of 2018 this year, they shut down. They basically said, sorry, we're not making any more rings. We will not be doing any more customer service. Bye. Like, what is that? They were doing so well for a few years, and then they're just like, oh, you know what? Thanks for buying our shit. Peace. So Ringly, do I recommend them? Nope. I want to set these on fire. Well, that ended on a positive note. So tell me in the comments products that you loved when you first were using them and now you just really don't like, because I'm always curious about how we change and how we're like, this is a holy grail, and then we're like, no, that thing is actually shit. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, again, please give it a big thumbs up. You guys can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Those are all GlitterFallout. You are super rock stars! And I love you with my whole heart, and I will see you guys in my next video. Mwah. Bye!